In this video I will cover generics in Java, so let's start. Generics is a new feature in Java version 5 which supports abstraction over types on classes and methods. With generics we can create a single class or method and use it for different types. So the good example of generics can be collection classes of Java. Most of them treated as generic classes. So in this case, for example, we can just we can use a list class of the Java to create a list of integers, list of strings. So we don't need to create something like int list or string list. We can use this implementation, and the compilation makes sure about the types. For example, we cannot add a list of strings to the list of strings some integer variables, or we cannot add string variables to the list of the integers. We will get a compilation error. It is better than getting the runtime error after the several steps. So in this case it's harder to find out what is going on. Okay, so for example, with we can just reach universality with, for example, with the object class, but in this case, compilator will accept any type of the variable here. But if we use generics, we can treat it like this. So array list. List, and then we cannot add here some string variable, so compilation will make sure about it. We'll get compilation error here. So to use generic classes we can create it like this. In this case we should specify type argument here and then create like here. But in the constructor of the generics we can skip it. It call it type inference, and in this case the type of the generic will be decided automatically. To call generic functions we can also skip type of the generic method, or we can just specify it before the name of the method, like here. So generic classes can be created like here. In this case we should just specify the type parameter after the class name, and then this type parameter can be used anyway in the body of this class in with non-static members of the class, so it will be used as the usual class. So for example, it can be, we can create a file of this class, we can just use it as variable of the argument, we can just use it as the type of the non-static method, argument of the non-static method, and we can create here the variables of the type parameter in non-static method member, like this. and so on. But we cannot work with it in static members of the class because it does not make sense. So to make sure getting errors on runtime, so it's not uh, clear that what type to use if you work with static members, and then it's permitted in Java. So to create generic methods, we should just specify type parameter before the type of the return type of the method. So in here also we can use it. So in this case, this type parameter is not related to this one. Okay. So we can just create. We can use this type parameter as a return type as part of the one of the generics as the argument or as the variable in this method. So type of the variable in this method. So you can do it like this, and it will not be wrong. So in here, wrong is like the we don't return it anything. Let's do it void. Okay, then generic types can be we can type use several type parameter in generics. So with this one we can just list generic types by comma in this scope, and then we can use it like this. So multiple type parameters also can be used in generic methods, and it's samely used in generic classes. And also we can bound generic types of the generic method parameter type like this. In this case, so we can use extend keyword. So for example, here we can just specify extends number, and it will accept only numbers in this scope. So in this case, it will be available to use the, for example, the methods of this class, the bound class. So also when we use several type parameters, we can use it like this. Extends t, or we can use it as part of the type parameter like this. Even we can use it like this. Here it call it as the recursive bounding. Here it doesn't make sense, but sometimes it makes sense. Also we can just bound it with interfaces in this case. So in this case, for example, we bound it with interfaces. So list is interface, or we can bound it with interfaces like this. But in this case, we should know that this in this case we would use always extends keyword, not implements keyword. We cannot write here implements, we will get error. So even if it implements some interface, or if it extends some classes, we should use extends keyword. Also we can just implement several types. So in this case we can use ampersand keyword, but ampersand symbol. But if we extend some classes, for example, in this here number, and implement some interface, then we should just write name of the class before the name of the interfaces, the names of the interfaces. So we can just use it like this, we can just list it several interfaces like this, and so on. So in methods it will work in same way. Okay, type parameters can be named, can be called with as the simple classes of the Java, so as the class names of the Java, so it can just contain, it should start from the letter, and it can contain numbers and underscores, but it's recommended to use the naming convention when we work with generic types. So mostly we use T keyword by default and SUV default by default for the second, third, fourth parameter types, but also we can use like this uh, any name for this type parameter. It's the rule for the typing is same as the rule of the naming the classes. It cannot start from the number, it cannot contain some specific symbols, and so on. Okay, advantages of the using generics. So as I said before, we will get both reusability and the type safety. For example, reusability we can get with this one, like this, with the object class, but also we can, but in this case we can not make sure about the type of the elements of this array. In this case we can make sure, because if we add some wrong symbol to this array, we will get error. Wrong variable to this array, we will get error. Type erasure. So in Java language, to work with generics, it will just use a mechanism called type erasure. It will erase any types of the generic, and it will be changed with bounds of the type. For example, here. So in compilation time, it will be just in compilation time. It will be just check it for the wrong types, and in runtime it will trust them, and these types will be erased. How? So these types will be changed with the upper bounds. For example, if we have some bounded parameter, so then it will erase it with the upper bound of the parameter. And in this case it will be the unbounded type parameter. The upper bound will be the object class. So the superclass which accepts so it will be changed with superclasses which will be accepted in the in this class. So the runtime on runtime these classes will be just like here. um, so in this case, type erasure ensures that no new classes will be created for parameterized types. Also, we will not have runtime overhead for them, but sometimes it will create some methods to ensure to the to work with type parameters. So these methods called the bridge methods, and we don't worry about it. It will not just it will not just it will be created automatically and will not just disturb our code. Okay. Also, we have some restrictions of the generics, so we cannot instantiate generic types with primitive types. So, for example, we cannot create the int type, so it should be reference type here. Also, we cannot create instance of type parameters in generic classes. For example, we cannot do it like this. So also we cannot use type parameters in static members of the generic classes because it doesn't make sense. We can just create some static generic methods for this reason, for this goal. So we cannot use class or instance of with generic types. For example, we cannot use. For example, we cannot check for the object. Uh, it can contain this element with this generic types, but we cannot just check for it. Also, we cannot use cannot create arrays of the parameterized types like this. For example, we cannot do it like this. So in this case, we will get a we cannot do it like this. So we cannot do it like this or like this. So in this case, we will get error generic array creation. So Java will not will permit doing this. Also, we cannot create catch or throw objects of the parameterized types. Even we cannot create generic types which extends the throwable because it confuses Java in, for example, several catch clauses where with type parameters they can be same. Also, we cannot overload a method where the formal parameter types of each overload arrays to the same row type. What does it mean? It means that when we work with several type parameters like this, we cannot create the second set method like what? Second set method. Okay, wait. We will get ambiguity error. So in this case, it will cause ambiguity error. Public void set. So for example, if we just create something like the so when we call set, it will just be confused which one to use here. Okay, types cannot have type parameters, so not any types can have type parameters, so we cannot generic anonymous in cannot create generic anonymous inner classes. We cannot create generic exception types and enum types. So, for example, we cannot do it like this. Exception. Or like also we cannot create enum types. It was permitted in Java. Okay. So in generic types is covariance, so it means that even if this number extends integer extends the number, the box integer, for example, box is generic type box integer, it doesn't extend the box of the number. So we cannot cast it to each other and so on, but we can use in this case wildcards. Wildcards like this, so it is the question mark of the class. It means that here can be something, but we don't know about it. So wildcards can be unbounded like this. It can be upper bounded like this, which extends, in this case, extends keyword. We use it for us in generic types with uh, with ampersand symbol and with the implementation of the interface. Or lower bounded wildcards can be like this. So also we have route types of the generic if we don't specify like here the generic type. These route types is not recommended to use. It's just stayed only for compatibility, back compatibility of the Java codes, of the old codes of the Java. So it's not recommended to use it. So in this case, compilator in compilation step, these types will not be checked properly. It will accept anything and it will just we can just get wrong code on runtime. So WordPress has also some restrictions. So for example, WordPress cannot be used for creation of the objects like here. I cannot use it for creation of arrays like here, but we can create it like here with unbounded one. Also cannot be used in instance of expressions like this, but we can use it like this in with unbounded one. Also cannot be as super types, and cannot be in a class literal like here, but we can use it like here. So also it can be used as argument and return type of the method like here, yes, argument like here, and we can use it as type of the file like here. We can use it as type argument of other parameterized type like here, and we can use it as target type in casts like here. So we have also some recommendations of using generics. So we shouldn't use route types in new codes, as I said. We should just eliminate every unchecked warnings we can, and if we cannot, we should just use a suppress warning annotation. Also, we should prefer list to arrays and use unbounded workers to increase API flexibility. We shouldn't use workers types as return types. So this lecture is finished. If you have questions, you can write me. Goodbye.